We turn now to Egypt, where the country has declared a month-long state of national emergency. At least 149 people are dead after security forces sent bulldozers and tanks into protest camps set up by supporters of the ousted President Mohamed Morsi. The violence began with Egyptian security forces storming two makeshift camps that had been occupied by Morsi supporters. The Muslim Brotherhood, which was behind the protest, told state TV that 2,000 people were killed. However, the Brotherhood has been known to give exaggerated figures and then later revise those figures. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry spoke today against the violence, but said he still believes a political solution is possible.
Today's events are deplorable, and they run counter to Egyptian aspirations for peace, inclusion, and genuine democracy. Egyptians inside and outside of the government need to take a step back. They need to calm the situation and avoid further loss of life. We also strongly oppose a return to a state of emergency law, and we call on the government to respect basic human rights, including freedom of peaceful assembly and due process under the law.
In other developments on Wednesday, Egypt's Vice President of Foreign Affairs Mohamed El Baradei resigned. RT's Beltrou is on the ground in Egypt reporting all the latest.
The Egyptian presidency has now announced a one-month state of emergency across the country in the growing violence. The interim president, Adli Mansour, called on the army to support the Ministry of Interior and its police force in this. Now, I have been there in the heart of the clashes at the main sit-in for ousted leader Mohamed Morsi in Nasr City, and the scenes have been extremely bloody. We've had reports of at least 2 journalists killed, including a Sky News cameraman who was shot dead. It's been very, very violent as the security forces moved in on these encampments. In Giza, whereas the second sit-in, the encampment was completely destroyed as bulldozers pushed over all the shelters and the tents after firing volleys of tear gas and bullets on the protesters there. However, the clashes continue and they are extremely fierce in the Rabaa al-Dawiya Mosque in Nasr City. The security forces moved in on protesters at around 6:30 this morning and started firing at them at 7 a.m. Using birdshot bullets, tear gas and also live ammunition, which I have actually seen with my own eyes. And they've continued to surround the entire sit-in, firing both at protesters inside and also anyone attempting to get in. The background to this is that the supporters of ousted leader Mohamed Morsi said that they wanted him to be reinstated and the constitution. They started these 2 sit-ins in the capital and across many different governorates over a month ago, saying they will not leave until he is put back in place. As I approached the sit-in, security forces, as I said, had blocked off every entrance, even the smallest side streets. What this resulted in was basically these side road battles where the police and the military would fire heavily on anyone approaching, including journalists like myself, residents and families of those people trapped inside. I had to duck behind cars, behind any concrete barricades that I could find, as ammunition was being fired at me both from above and from in the front, including tear gas. The air was stinging. It was almost impossible to breathe. I was unable to ascertain whether this was in fact live ammunition, but I heard a lot of automatic weapon fire, and also I heard what sounded like rifle rounds. I managed to make my way into the sit-in after hours of being shot at, and found protesters, as I said, trying to find shelter, and like I said, women and children in there as well. The field hospital itself is in the heart of the clashes. You have to run through a corridor of live ammunition to get there that some protesters were doing. Meanwhile, others were wearing the Quran around their neck and chanting defiantly against the police force, saying they will not be intimidated. Paramedics were carrying stretchers to the front line with their uniforms covered in blood, saying that a number of people had died in their ambulances. I then watched one particular protester shot in the chest who was actually killed. He actually died in front of me. The paramedics in the ambulance attempted to resuscitate him, but it didn't work. He died right there with a gunshot wound to his chest and another one to his leg. So clearly it looks like the security forces are shooting to kill. From my contacts inside the field hospital, they say that people have been shot to the head, the face, the neck and the chest.
That was RT's Beltrou reporting from Cairo, Egypt.